The 2012 Pinocchio is an animated feature film directed and written by Enzo D'Allo, and I apologise if I've mispronounced that. This is, of course, based on The Adventures of Pinocchio by Carlo Collodi, and I watched the English dub version, and we have a voice cast including Robert Naylor as Pinocchio and Michael Rudder as Geppetto. And I'm, for some reason, watching a lot of Pinocchio at the moment. I think I just came across a few versions that I hadn't seen. And in general, it's not a bad experience. By no means is this ever going to be my favourite Pinocchio, but it's a fun way to enjoy the story if you're already familiar with it. I would say this is more of a children's film. Most versions of Pinocchio, I'd say, are more family friendly. This one definitely feels like more of a children's film. And that's not a criticism. Films are absolutely allowed to be more for children. I won't go into too much detail about the story. I will assume that most people are aware, but if you're not, Geppetto is a carpenter and he creates this wooden puppet called Pinocchio, and Pinocchio wants to be a real boy and goes off on an adventure and gets into a lot of difficult situations, and also when he lies his nose grows very long. And I don't know if this is a fact, but I feel like Pinocchio's nose in this film grew the longest I have ever seen. I could be wrong, but it became very, very long at one point. I will say he doesn't look wooden. Apart from his arms, his joints, they do look like they're made out of wood, but in general, if you just saw a picture of him, you wouldn't automatically go, oh, that's Pinocchio, unless, of course, he was lying and his nose was big. So I think they could have done a little bit more with the texture to make him look like he was wooden. The colour palette for this film is, well, it's bright. There are a lot of bright colours, which does work well. The design of the boat, we see this boat at one point, and it's so fun. The animation is, I like the color palette. I don't necessarily love the animation style. I think it's a little garish at times. There are a few different styles for a few different characters, and I don't personally love it, but there's nothing wrong with it. By no means would I say it's badly animated, but obviously when it comes to personal preference, it's not necessarily my favourite style, but it's certainly watchable. Absolutely not an ugly film or anything, but it's just not a personal favourite. If you're already familiar with Pinocchio, and you're already a fan of Pinocchio, then I'd say this one might be worth watching. We have some great music as well. The music in this is very good. The characters are well written. The voice acting is great. Visually, very strong colour palette. Not my favourite animation style, but ultimately, I don't really have any complaints about it. As I said, never going to be my favourite. It will never be the first Pinocchio I recommend. I suppose I will always recommend the Disney version first, because I feel like it's most people's introduction to Pinocchio. And it is, in my opinion, one of the scariest versions, but also it's a wonderful film. But if you're already a fan of Pinocchio, then check this one out, see what you think, see how it compares to other versions that you've seen. There is apparently a different version in terms of the voice cast. I did check on Amazon, I watched it on Prime, and the voice cast that I named is the version that I watched, but there is also a version from 2018 with the dubbing from 2018 with Johnny Orlando as Pinocchio and John Hader as Leo the cat. So I don't know which versions are available elsewhere, but certainly on Prime in the UK, the version with Robert Naylor as Pinocchio is the one that I watched. And I'm happy to recommend it. If you're an existing Pinocchio fan, check it out. I think you'll find it to be a fun experience. If you're brand new to Pinocchio, please don't make this the first one that you watch. Even if there's a specific reason you want to watch this, such as the voice cast or you've seen the directors of the work, I'd still say go and watch Disney's version first if you can. I assume it's on Disney Plus. Interestingly, it is on there, at least in the UK. I just had a look, but when I just googled Pinocchio, and do you know how Google populates some icons on the top right to the streaming services? It brought up the Disney Plus one. I clicked on it and sat through an advert to then find out that actually that's the live action version. Google thought I wanted the live action version, which I did not. So that was interesting. But yes, Disney's animation is on Disney Plus. Recommend that one first, and then check out this one if you like the story. While the animation style may not be my favourite, and yes, it does feel like more of a children's film than a family film, none of those are really criticisms. It's a decent version of the story. The story is generally well represented. As I mentioned in a recent previous Pinocchio discussion, I haven't read the book. It is now on my to-read list. so I will be reading it at some point. But obviously, that means I can't compare it to the book. I don't know exactly how close the adaptation is, but it's very recognizable, as with other adaptations that I've seen. So, all things considered, the 2012 animated Pinocchio is not a bad film. And if you're already a fan of Pinocchio, then I'd say it's one that's worth watching.